live because I just got my twit notification.
Well, I'm jealous you got yours before I got mine.
I had my
Hmm.
phone in my hand. I was looking at it and it said, "Hey, you're live."
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute. That means I need to look my head up and look at the screen and pay
Need
attention.
to pay attention. I mean, we only took a week off. Come on. We've forgotten how to
There's
do this already?
Yeah, there's more than one way to be rude, as Kara says. Don't eat while you're rude. Don't eat. Well, you're just not even be paying attention. You're live and you're not even talking to people.
Well, hey, look, the brilliance of this is it's our show on various platforms. We get to make the rules and do what we want within reason.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. So, what is on tap for tonight?
That's a
We've
good
we've
question.
had, we've had a little break, and I got to tell you, I'm kind of beat up. I don't know.
Yeah, and look, we've already got about 30 something people watching, so that's a good thing because apparently the Facebook show notification deal didn't post like it was supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and so I guess I need to explain. Well, really, we don't have to, but I guess I'll explain why we didn't have a show last week. So I was in Missouri at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Our one of our twin boys, Jeremy, decided to join the army, and so he graduated from basic training. So we went up there for the graduation deal, and family day and all that. So we kind of made a mini vacation out of
Well, good deal. Good deal. Well,
it. Yeah.
I know y'all are happy about that and excited. I mean, I would say if I was going to join the military, I'd want to do it now rather than 4 years ago. But
Well, he's much happier now after the election. He was like, I don't want to have Kamala as a commander in chief, but I guess I'll have to.
well, the odds are in their favor now, as opposed to I mean, Trump when he was in there 4 years before. Look, we wasn't in the middle of any wars or anything. He didn't get anybody done in, and well, there's been quite a bit of dying over the last 4 years. I
Oh yeah.
suspect Trump's going to slow all that down.
I think he probably will, and hope so. We will see, because there sure is a lot of stuff being stirred up around the globe these days, and plenty of stuff right here at home in Bossier.
Yeah, there is. Hey, before we go to the break, real quick, or do you want to go ahead and go to the break? Did you see on Capitol Hill today? Yeah, we went out to the airport and all the illegals, in which they argue that they're not illegals, they're asylum seekers or whatever the hell they call them.
Undocumented migrant asylum seekers who
Yeah, whatever. It's just choose the words and adjectives you to
right.
use. However, anyway, but did you see that on Capitol Hill they were doing some a little bit of testimony? Did you realize that the government has been paying these NGOs something to the tune of 600 million every 2 to 3 months to move all these people all across the country? And
No. Sounds like a
six
job for Doge or Doge or
the
however they're
oh
gonna
yeah.
say it.
Yeah, but it was a farce from the beginning. But look, they knew they were going to get the money coming, and then they're going to get the money going again. I mean,
Uh,
it's a double header. You're going to get the money going both ways.
look,
Uh,
this Department of Government Efficiency. I think it kind of started out as a little bit of a joke, but it's got legs, and apparently they're officially going to have it. But there is so much waste in the government, and I would consider that waste because look, I'm one of those, and I think we've had this discussion before, so I won't get on my soapbox on it. But, I believe if you come over here legally, we're a nation built on immigration, literally. Uh, I think we have plenty of room in this country, and if you come over legally and do it the right way, come on over. But if your first action towards our country is to break our immigration laws, therefore doing an illegal act, that just doesn't set a good precedent. And to funnel money and launder money, so to speak, through these groups, I mean, I honestly, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all either. And hey, when we come back from the break, I mean, because they were talking about Catholics in this thing, and
Wait,
I
are
want
the
to.
Catholics migrating?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they are, but I got a question for Catholics. So if you're a Catholic, I got a question when we come back for the break regarding all this because I mean we're going to use this show to try to educate ourselves a little bit. But what else are we going to talk about?
Well,
City council, Bossier City, Bossier Parish. What? I mean, I
look,
saw some kind of notes you were having some problems with the identity of the show or something. I don't know. What was that about?
well, I think we need to institute a new rule. If you're not a resident of Bossier City proper, then when we talk about the city council, you have to tune out. What do you think, Duke? Because, all you folks up there in Benton, I mean, y'all just have no business worrying about Bossier City's business, the city itself. I mean, what do you think about that?
Oh, so if you don't identify as a Bossier, or is it one of them you can identify as a Bossier City resident?
It's kind of like the
Or
gender identity crisis that we've got. I don't know, but I'll say this: I am so glad that we named the show Bossier Watch and not Bossier City Watch, because at least we can be all inclusive. But if we're talking about city council stuff, all you folks that don't live in Benton, and I guess Duke, that includes you, you'll just have to mute yourself or whatever. When we're talking about city council stuff, y'all just can't. Look, y'all have no business in that, according to the city council.
well, what if you have a business and you pay taxes in Bossier?
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
Doesn't
okay.
matter according to our city council. And I'm sure a
Well,
lot of folks, because it's at about 4,000 views, have seen the video we posted of Colonel Crockett getting hauled out by the marshals. But we're going to talk and show the entire context of that after the break and here in a little
so
while.
you're saying if I have a house in Florida and I come back and forth, to do business in my business in Bossier, I can't say nothing.
Are you a resident of Bossier City in that scenario?
I
Look,
haven't been.
let's use you and Kara as a prime example. Are you or your lovely bride residents of Bossier City? Yes or no?
No,
That's it. You're
no,
done. What you say
no.
doesn't
Oh,
matter according to the city council.
all right. Well, have a good night. It was fun seeing you. I'm
See ya.
out.
We're out of here, folks. Well, I'm a resident of Bossier City because I'm inside the city limits by 400 yards. Inside the city limits. So I can keep talking. You got to stay quiet while I'm talking about the
Oh,
city.
well, then half of this show has standing. See there?
All right, let's go ahead and go to the break. We'll discuss what the heck we're actually talking about here in just a little bit when we come back from the break. We've got plenty to talk about the city council and Colonel Crockett, and we're going to talk. I don't know, maybe spend a few minutes on the tax policies and what's going on in Baton Rouge. Just general talk about that, and maybe give us an update on the was it the Second Circuit?
Yeah. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals
Yeah.
term limits was over there and made a
Ah.
bunch of notes. I went and heard the oral arguments. And hey, Rex, did you know that apparently there may be shaking down of people businesses still going on in Bossier?
Ooh, the shaken business syndrome. Kind of like
I
shaken
thought
baby
that
syndrome.
I mean, I thought that kind of thing was done and over with back in the day, with the mob and all that stuff in the strip. But apparently, maybe still going on today. I don't know.
Kind of our own little mafia, good old boys mafia, so to speak, maybe. That sounds intriguing. All right, well, let's go ahead and go to the break. Folks, y'all know the drill. We'll be going for about 2 minutes while we do the countdown. And we'll be right back. In the meantime, share, tag some friends, let them know we're going to talk about the city council. We're going to talk about shaking businesses down and give an update on the Second Circuit and the term limits. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks.
Through conscious shocking action, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are. Looky there. Val Baker says he shared. That's great. Thank you, Val. We appreciate everybody that shares and comments and posts and does all that sort of thing. Makes those little videos of Colonel Crockett getting hauled off by the marshals go locally viral. Let's say it's at about 4,000 views. That's not viral, but it's pretty darn good for a local video.
Right. That's good. Hey, so all right, I want to get back on this. I want to leave it alone. So,
okay,
I'm asking this question, and the reason is if y'all just joined us, because I see there's a few more folks have came in since we came from the when we started, and there was some testimony on Capitol Hill where they said that the U.S. government has been paying what did I say, $600 million
right,
every 2 to 3 months to NGOs to shuttle all of these illegal, whatever adjective you want to use, people across the country.
right.
But he said, and a follow-up question to the man was, which NGOs? And he responded and said the majority are the Catholic NGOs. So my question is to those Catholics out here, I don't understand. I don't understand that why it's primarily, and you hear a lot about it, that the Catholic NGOs are the ones that are doing the majority of all of that. Why is that?
I don't know. Just my knee-jerk theory, and it's only a theory because I have not researched this at all. A lot of the Mexican population is Catholic. And so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe the illegals or the immigrants or whatever they are coming up from Mexico, maybe because the Catholic faith is so strong in Mexico, maybe that's why they're heavily involved in it, or maybe it's just the money.
Maybe it is just the money, but I would think that some of the people that have lost their lives by virtue of these illegals coming into our country without being vetted, without any consideration, they probably don't agree with it, and they probably don't appreciate it. um, you know, they are illegals. Period. They're coming
Yes.
across the border illegally. They didn't have an invitation. They
Right.
didn't come across saying,
They
"Hey,
didn't come through a port of entry, go through the immigration and all those services.
yeah." So I just I don't get this. How can any organizations be advocating for these folks bringing in everything that they're bringing in, and then we're having crime exponentially increase, and even some of our people who are citizens here being murdered. I got to tell you, it rubs all over me, and I'd love to hear from the Catholics why,
Yeah.
because I do not get it.
Hey, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole either, but I would hate to see any of our local government officials that might support this sort of thing. I wonder if there are any that do. Oh, anyway. we
I
won't go down that rabbit hole again, but
I can't take you anywhere. I
I
can't take
know.
you
I
anywhere.
know. I know.
You got no limits.
I know. It's the gloves are off or on or I don't know. Anyway. Look, you and I both agree with that. While I, again, and I think you may agree with me on this, you may not. And folks, let us know in the comments what you think. But I do agree with perfectly legal immigration. We've got plenty of land area in this country. Come on over, but just do it legally. Follow our laws. Go through immigration and naturalization and whatever that whole process is. And yes, it is a long, arduous, and somewhat expensive process, but do it the right way.
Yeah, well, we can't afford it anymore. I mean, even Trump on his best day, I don't know that we don't have an insurmountable, you know, debt on us already. I don't know that he's going to be able to fix it. My only hope is that Vivek and Elon are going to be able to turn it around, and that's I'm counting more on them than I am Trump.
And just not to belabor the point about the illegals, but, uh, we did tease out quite a while back the video that you shot at the airport, at the Shreveport airport. Maybe we need to go back and revisit that video. I wonder if that group was one of these NGOs getting some money.
Well, I would almost be willing to bet my wallet on it, but and I remember this, I specifically asked her, I said, "Are any taxpayer dollars being used for this?" And she said, "No, the monies are coming from family and NGOs."
Oh,
So
wait a minute. The
I'm
monies
just,
are
that's what
coming
she
from
said.
families and NGOs. The NGOs are getting taxpayer dollars, therefore, it's
But
taxpayer
you,
dollars.
but you don't know. I mean, they're supposedly there's something to the tune of 15,000 and I may have looked at the number, it was either 15,000 or 150,000 NGOs in the United States,
Hmm.
non-government organizations
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
yeah. So
Non-government organization. Sorry, folks.
so
Okay. Well, anyway, we
hey,
need to go back and revisit that video, but let's move on.
yeah, we do. I got another question. I mean, just
Okay.
we ain't been on, we hadn't talked in a while, and I'm just, with y'all watching the show. I mean, so I hit on the Catholics. I want to hear an explanation because I just don't get it. But I'm just wondering about y'all. What do y'all think about, let's say, for instance, and I'm not speaking of me. I mean, I have good neighbors. But what if what if somebody was living next door to you and they were going through life, just to you, they're normal, there's no problems or whatever. But then what if you learn that they're one of these ambulance chaser types? What if you
Wait.
learn that an ambulance chaser, what if you learn
Well, hold
that
on. Now, you got to clarify, and I'll let you finish. So, like, they're chasing ambulances with video and publishing video?
no no
Or
no no
that,
no no no
like,
no no
an
let me
ambulance
no
chasing attorney? What kind of ambulance
No,
chaser?
so when I say ambulance chaser, I'm saying just those people that, they want to get an attorney and they want to sue and then want the pain and suffering
Sue
and
happy
all this
people.
crap. Sue happy, want to use to try to get ahead. But then when they go home, and they're with their neighbors, they're all good. There ain't no problems. And I'm just speaking like, let's say you've been in an accident and somebody just bumped your bumper. There's not even any damage. Let me tell you a story. When I was a fireman, right? So made a call, and there was this car in the parking lot. It was in a hotel, and another car they were at a red light, and they bumped the back of the bumper.
Yeah.
Literally, the car was filthy. It was dirty. I mean, it had
Mm-hmm.
dirt all over it.
Mm-hmm.
The bump from the back of that vehicle was so light, it didn't even disturb the dirt on the bumper. But
Mm-hmm.
yet, all the occupants of that car, they all wanted to go to the hospital by the ambulance. They all wanted to, get what's his name, not Kirby Kelly or whichever Cat in the Hat, or get some of them people that wanted
Billboard lawyers, whatever.
pain and suffering, wanted to be paid for life and all that. And I'm just wondering how many people, I mean, what do y'all think about those people, especially because I think a lot of them, more so than what you think, live right here in your community next door to you. And should if they're those type people and they're doing it, and I know I'm kind of jumping uh jumping ahead here on this deal, but I don't know. I think they need to be advertised. I think we need to put out there who they are and identify who are the damn people that are causing our auto insurance and those kinds of things to be going up. No, don't get me wrong. There are people that have wrecks and people who legitimately are hurt. But I think there's more of them that just feed off the system. And
Well, look, I can
it's
say
a
from
business.
I can say from personal experience in the past, I've had somebody bump me at a red light, did zero damage to my truck. As a matter of fact, hit the receiver hitch. Did zero damage to my truck. Get out of the truck, go around. Is there any damage? No, there's not. Talk to the other person. Hey, no damage. Don't worry about it. Blah 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 blah. Go on about your business.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think you're right. I don't know how much of an epidemic this is, but I think you're right. There are a lot of people that are just looking for a payday for anything, and that is a contributing factor towards our high interest rates here. Now, I gotta say though, that's borderline sounding like a little one of our little legislators who also happens to be an insurance lawyer for the other side. So there's kind of two sides to that
Well, but,
coin.
but but wait a minute, I'm gonna have to defend him there because he is a lawyer defending the insurance company. I
Right.
mean, because here's the thing. So we have that accident you just described, and you
Mm-hmm.
bump into the back of me, and at the scene, I tell you, "Oh, everything's great, Rex. I mean,
Right.
no problem," and
Right.
you drive away. 1 week or a month later,
Oh yeah,
you're getting
you have
served.
whiplash and everything
You're
else. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm damaged for life, and you're getting served a lawsuit, and your insurance company, they have to get a lawyer. That by the insurance, they have to get a lawyer, and they have to defend you. And
Yeah.
you know, Seaball or would have been your lawyer in that case. He's defending the insurance company. I'm not. That's who they would have called. It's like
Well,
that.
and look, there are legitimate times where focus your camera when you get a second. There are legitimate times where I'm just painting a hypothetical here off the top of my head. So, look, folks, y'all don't, hold this against me too much, but there are legitimate times where you might be in a fender bender, somebody rear ends you. You kind of, people have a tendency, obviously, to tense up. And sometimes, maybe they did have a little bit of whiplash and it might not really be there at that time in the adrenaline rush. It might be a day or two down the road. So I want to say there's always two sides to it. I'm not condoning the practice that you're describing. I'm just saying there are legitimate cases where maybe there wasn't much damage to the vehicles, just because of the way that the impact was. But maybe you do have a little bit of pain and suffering in your neck, whiplash type stuff. Maybe you can't go to work for a day or two. I don't know. I'm painting some kind of crazy scenario here, and I sound like a billboard attorney advocate, but I'm not.
Yeah, but that's my thing is the insurance companies, it has become a norm in our state, and it's not just, we can blame the lawyers all we want, but I would contend it's not necessarily the lawyers. It's a lot of our citizens, because we all have this mentality that, oh, if I've been in a wreck, I just need to get, we know this fact here, that it's cheaper for that insurance company to just write a settlement check regardless than it is to hire attorneys and go to court. We all know that. So
Yeah.
there's a large majority of our population that are just feeding off of the system. And it's those people, they're not injured. They should have just, like, gentlemen, the way you described your situation earlier, that's the way it should be handled. But rather, they're looking for a paycheck just because they can get a free paycheck. And that's killing everybody in the state of Louisiana. So we can't completely blame it all on the lawyers. It's
True.
it's a mentality thing.
All right, but here's my question, and we've gone down this rabbit hole a couple of times before in the last 3 or 4 years of the show. But if I drive, 20 miles or whatever, go live in Texas, my insurance is half, literally, just vehicle insurance, just personal vehicle insurance is half of what it is over here. Literally half. Are the Texas drivers that much better?
I ain't getting into that. I ain't taking no issue with the legislation, or I'm not going
Look,
there.
I am no
I'm
insurance expert. I've
I
asked this
am
before. I'm asking again. Do we have that many more uninsured drivers in the state? And maybe we do than just 20 miles down the interstate?
I would like to see statistics on the
Yes.
number of people that file claims in
Mm.
Louisiana versus, say, a Texas or what have you, because I think that there is a lot of people filing bull crap claims to get a check that shouldn't be. And where I was going with all this, so we can wrap it up, I mean, I'm not convinced that we shouldn't start a page where it was listing, our local dirt bags that are causing our insurance to go up, with no injury and no damage on their vehicles and all that stuff. I mean, put it up there, just like us. We're talking about stuff that makes people uncomfortable, that they won't talk about themselves, but people obviously want to know it. They want to know what's going on in their government, right?
Yeah.
Well, what about these dirt bags in our community that live next door that act like, oh, they're saints, but they're also at the same time feeding off of all of our neighbors?
Well,
I mean, because that's the bottom line. That's what they're doing. They're feeding off of us.
Insurance Watch. See, there we go.
Anyway,
now we get to do another show and another website and all that and take up more time. Oh, speaking of that, squirrel
or
moment here.
better yet, I think we would be doing those people's neighbors, whoever these people are, we'd be doing their neighbors a favor if we sent letters to all their neighbors saying, beware, your neighbor may sue you for, pain and suffering. So you should tread carefully. You just need to know.
You're pitting neighbor against neighbor. Well, it's an interesting thought, and the whole insurance deal is screwed up. If only we had some legislators that were insurance attorneys, as well as some billboard ambulance chasers and literal insurance agents, maybe they could figure out how to fix and make our insurance better. But I don't know. That's wishful thinking.
Well, they did have a new bill, and I haven't read it yet, but they did get a bill done for legislative continuances. So the legislature's going to
Great.
get that fixed.
Yeah, they're not going to fix our insurance, but they're going to get their legislative continuances. Just great. All right. So since we went down that rabbit hole, what's next? What else can we talk about?
Well, see, you said we didn't have nothing to talk about, but
Yeah.
anyway, I got tons to talk about. I want to go back in the comments because somebody, I wasn't just picking on the Catholics, but what I was saying was the Catholic NGOs were identified as the highest number of NGOs.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else posted in there, they posted out Lutheran and the Jewish NGOs. Yes, those were mentioned as well, but they were not quantified as much as what the Catholic NGOs. It was pointed out that the Catholic NGOs were far and wide the highest percentage of those NGOs that were doing all of this. So anyway, all for that.
Okay. And I don't even know. Let's try taking a look at the notes. I'll try taking a look at the notes this time. I don't know why I'm saying that to you. You actually follow the notes. I just wing it half the time. Uh, shall we talk about the Second Circuit, or you want to dive off into the City Council? Let's talk about the Second Circuit first.
Yeah. So, as all of y'all know, and then some of you may not, the term limit coalition's petition that was successfully, uh, well, what would I say? Successfully won in district court. There, I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
And of course, the benevolent overlords of Bossier City sought to fight it, and they filed an appeal, which took it to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals.
Right.
And honestly, I don't think it was ever about whether they thought they could win a case or not win a case. I mean, the arguments that they have made are ludicrous, and I'm going to spell this out for you here in just a minute. In fact, the judges who heard oral arguments on the Second Circuit, they even articulated how they articulated this that I'm going to tell you. So, but again, the only reason this thing went is because the graybeards, as Jeff Sadow coins them, it was all from the beginning just a delay game. That was what it
Right.
was all about. And all of the charter commission members that the graybeards put together, they had no interest in ever having a charter commission until we were successful with the petition. But the charter commission members, they all say, oh, our, and even Jeter, Judas Jeter, what we're doing it has nothing to do. It's not about the term limits. Just we haven't amended our charter in 20 something plus years. All of a sudden, no, we need to do it.
Right.
But it was all about defeating our petition and them putting something in place that would enable them to continue to run. And
Sure. Yeah.
their proposition of term limits would enable them to all the years that they've done so far, and then run for 12 more, then have to sit out one term, and then they could run for 12 more, sit out one term and run for 12 more. You could have these guys for 100 years. That's what they want. That's the system they want. That's not term limits, and that's no limitation. But to successfully do that, they have to beat us. And how they would beat us is they would beat us by delaying us at the Second Circuit and drawing it out. If they can get this petition or their charter commission done on the March ballot and it passes, then regardless of where our petition, even though Richard Ray and Jacobs, articulate that
Yeah, the weasel.
the people's petition can amend the new charter, that's just not so. Watch what happens. Jeffrey or Darby or Montgomery, one of them are going to jump up and sue, and they're going to say, no, that doesn't apply because we adopted a new charter. The people voted on a new charter, and the amendment of the people's petition was on an old charter. And then Richard Ray is going to jump up and say, well, I was just giving my opinions, and you know what you can do with opinions from attorneys. I mean, it's like the AG's opinion. It's just an opinion. Doesn't mean it's right until it goes to court. So one of them is going to file suit, and they're going to say, oh, guess what? And Richard's going to say, well, looks like I was wrong. Have a nice day. That's how that's going to go.
That's the basic scenario, yes.
So fast forward to Second Circuit Court of Appeals. We're having oral arguments. The city's attorney, who I think Wes Marriott coined as being the shopped around attorney to take the case, and an insurance attorney out of New Orleans. I can't remember his first name, last name, Kolb. So he comes up, and on his appeal, he filed basically one of the contingencies, that, or one of the arguments that he was making was that in the writ of mandamus that was filed, it didn't, and in the trial, it didn't include a copy of the petition.
Right.
And that was his argument. He made it there that day at the trial court, and then he made it again. He stood up there at the Second Circuit and was making that argument.
Well, what else is he going to talk about?
Yeah, and anyway, so the one of the judges up there and said, so what you're telling says to Cobb says, so what you're telling me, he says, so has the council acknowledged that they received a petition or not? And and Cobb is like, well, yeah, they received a petition, and I'm just reading from the quick notes that I made
Mhm.
here, and then the judge says, it's my understanding that they had received the petition. And Cobb had to say, yeah, they had received the petition. And then the judge is like, so what am I missing here? I don't understand. And Cobb says, well, it's about the trial court. The petition was not attached to the writ of mandamus. It mandatorily has to be in the proceedings. And so then the judge says, but wasn't it in there? And says, well, didn't the registrar of voters certify, or give
The
a certificate
petition? Yeah.
certifying it? Says, yeah, but that's not the petition. It's like, so then the judge comes back and says, so can you explain to me exactly what is the purpose of a certification from a registrar of voters then? And 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 Cobb says, well, that's just to validate the petition, the signatures, the year of birth, and
So on and so
yada yada
forth.
yada yada yada. And so hang on a second, let me get my notes here right.
Yeah, yeah. And
He's,
so
he,
just
he
to
says
remind
so.
just to remind everybody while you gather your thoughts, remember, like Duke said at the beginning, the lawsuit was filed. They lost in district court. The city filed an appeal, which is at the Second Circuit, which was what, last week, I believe.
Yeah, last week.
Okay, last
Yeah.
week Duke was there, so he's giving us his play-by-play.
So the judge, after he says, he asks him. I mean, it was three of these judges, and the judge is asking him. He says, "So what's the purpose of the certificate from the registrar of voters?" And he explains it out. And so then the judge says, "So did you oppose the certificate from the registrar?" And says, "It was in the record, right?" And Cobb has to say, "No, I didn't oppose the certificate, and yeah, it was in the record." He's like, "Well, why didn't you challenge it? You know, why did you not challenge the certification of the registrar of voters of a valid petition according to the prerequisite of the Bossier City Charter,
Well,
which delineates the number of signatures required, which is a part of the certificate from the registrar of voters, all of that."
correct me if I'm wrong. We were both sitting there. Stephanie Agee, the registrar of voters, was on the stand, correct? If I remember
Yeah.
right. Okay. I don't remember, but I've slept a few times since then. I don't remember Cobb objecting to anything that really of Stephanie's testimony or whatever.
No, nothing whatsoever.
Okay. Just
Well,
want to make sure I
well,
was remembering that correctly.
so he was making that argument, and then his other argument was that the petition, the language in the petition was calling for the election to be held on the November ballot, which would have been highest turnout,
Right.
or such. And he was saying, because it said the words November on the petition, therefore that date is passed. There's no way it can be on the November ballot. So therefore the petition is done. It's null and void.
Right.
And and then the judge comes back and says, but Mr. Cobb, isn't it true that the Secretary of State acknowledged that they could extend the date, for if the city council would have passed the resolution to go to the Secretary of State? They challenged him and said, but isn't it true that it could have made the November ballot because the Secretary of State said they could have extended it? And Cobb had to acknowledge, yeah. He said, but there wasn't one, so couldn't count on it. It was the biggest non-answer.
Yeah, typical lawyer speak.
And then one of the judge says so basically, Mr. Cobb, so what you're saying is that, tough luck again, just go get you 3,000 signatures and start over. Meanwhile, we're all going to get elected again. He said, "Is
It's
that
like
about summed up?"
another instance of Groundhog Day. Here we go again.
No, you don't understand. That's exactly what the judge said.
Did he say Groundhog Day?
No, he didn't say
Oh, okay,
groundhog.
okay,
No, no.
okay.
But he said it in a I mean, I hate to
All
say a
right,
condescending way, but
right.
he said it. He was like, so basically, what you're saying is go get your 3,000 signatures again and start over. Meanwhile, we're just going to all get elected again.
Yeah,
Have a nice day. That was exactly their words.
that's all. It's going to be great to read this once it finally gets posted. And I want to throw this out there. And so that's a great job so far of summarizing what went on. I want to make this point again that number one, the best way to get rid of these, 20 plus year career good old boy politicians is to simply not elect them again. But I will say this, it's not about it's not just about the existing good old boys that are on the city council. So the version of term limits, I think that's one of the proposals put forward by the Charter Commission, like you said, was, they could serve, sit out 4 years, serve again. I don't want, as much as I like and respect Brian Hammonds and most of the time like Chris Smith, I don't want Brian Hammonds to be able to serve, sit out 4 years, run again, or tag team back in. I don't. So it's not just about Queen Monty. It's not just about Darby. It's not just about Bubba Don the Jerk Man. It's not just about Jeff Free, who's my absent-minded city councilman. It's about any future city councilman too. I just don't agree with that.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, 2 points that I wanted to make, and so Cobb just hammered on this thing about that the petition was not included. And the Jerry Harper, the attorney, representing Tommy Chandler, Chris Smith, and Brian Hammonds, when he got up and had the opportunity to retort, he got up and he said, just I wanted to point out that Mr. Cobb's comments about the petition not being inclusive is totally wrong. He said, in fact, the trial judge acknowledged uh, and recognized that he had watched the proceedings of the council where they had were provided the petition, and the city attorney acknowledged on video that he had a valid petition presented to him and that they needed to pass it.
Wait a minute. You're saying, did I hear you correctly? The judge said he had watched the meeting?
No, well, if you may not remember this, but in Benton,
Right.
the links were
Correct.
provided
Yes. All right.
to the receipt of the petition and the words of the city attorney
Right.
saying, I've reviewed the valid petition
Yeah.
and you got to pass it.
Right. Yeah.
That
That is absolutely correct. Yes.
So that was in the trial court's, briefs. So for Cobb to sit up here and say that it wasn't ever presented, and the the Second Circuit judges were just, I got to tell you, I think this thing's going to come back and it's going to be a beating. So
Yeah. All right. Now, did they give any indication of when they might render a decision?
well, the way I understand their process is that they hear all of these cases, a bunch of cases, and then if you go to the Second Circuit's website, you will see where they release their decisions. I feel like they probably already knew this case inside and out. I think this probably is an easy one on them, but the decision in this case won't be released until they finished all the other cases, and they'll release the rulings on every one of those at the
Okay.
same time. So we're probably not going to get it until middle December.
Yeah.
Or
So it just goes back to the simple point that we've seen the pop-ups of some city councilman signs and all that. I would argue that might be a little early, but that's a whole other point. Qualifying for the city council races is not until January sometime. But it just goes back to the point that we need to remember who has been which city council people who have been staunchly opposed to term limits and have caused all this mess. And at the ballot box, if they run again, we need to make sure not just the folks that watch this show, because I think the vast majority of people watching the show agree with term limits, but you need to let your neighbors and friends who may not have been paying attention know as well and get them to the polls too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this election coming up should be a referendum on how these guys have conducted themselves. I mean, the city charter says they shall submit a petition of the people. It doesn't matter if it was even about term limits. It didn't
Right.
have to be about term limits. But if you, the citizens of Bossier, petition, they shall send it to the whole city for a vote. Well,
Yeah.
they just all thumbed their nose at all of y'all and said, you know what? We don't care whether you agree, whether you disagree. We are making the decision that to hell with you. We don't want it. So therefore, you're not going to have a say in it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's not the kind
Remember
of
when you
government.
go. Remember that when you go to the polls, folks, and take a friend to the polls. Make sure they vote, because those March elections, the turnout's generally not very high percentage wise. Ruth Pope Johnson says, but then if they lose, they will go to the Louisiana Supreme Court to tie y'all up in court. I feel quite confident that they will, because they don't mind doing pay raises on a credit card, as Tommy Chandler put it. They don't mind spending money with out of town, not even Bossier City attorneys. And I'll remind everybody that neither Jacobs nor Richard Ray are residents of Bossier City either, by the way.
So, yeah. So, and look, y'all all have got to be thinking a little bit more about this and telling the people what you're looking at. Because here's what you're looking at. What they're trying to do is these same guys that don't believe in government for the people, by the people. That they don't believe in those ideas. They just revised a charter that they're going to send to you and try to have on the same ballot of them being elected, and prevent you from being able to have a say. That's what they're trying to do, and they're hanging their hat around uh that it's people like me that live in Benton. We're non-citizens that are the driving force behind all of this, that non-citizens don't support this. That's their message. Both Juliana Parks and all of them are making those arguments publicly, saying, oh, it's just it's non-citizens are the ones that are doing all this bullshit.
Oh, see, I forgot to mute your mic when we started talking about term limits. Dang it. And there is that pesky Colonel Crockett, that jerk. He is in the comments too.
Well,
You
anyway,
non-citizens.
so I ain't calling for yet voting against everything, their term limits and their city charter, but I'm real close to it, their city charter amendment, because the bottom line is I would much rather us have a charter commission that's not staffed by elected officials from Bossier, a charter commission with charter that was wrote by, the marshal's wife, the city judge's wife, Jeter. He can say what he wants. He gets benefits from the people down there. He turncoated on all of the Term Limits Coalition. He was with us as long as there was a camera, but if there wasn't a camera, he wasn't with us.
Right.
I got nothing for them people. I got nothing for them. And it is not illegal for the judge's wife and or the marshal's wife that has been delineated by an opinion of an attorney at the AG's office. That's been delineated. I got it. But all of you got to ask yourself, is it morally right? Is it ethically right?
Yeah. Or is it
Should
just in that gray area? Even if it's in the gray area.
Yeah, and if y'all think that it is, I want y'all to show me where there were any amendments in the charter, in regards to the marshal's office. Were there any amendments or recommendations in regards to the city judge's office? Were there any amendments or recommendations to the city attorney's office? I
No.
mean, I mean, something more than just, a clerical word, just, the spelling. I'm something of substance, Where is there any mandated audits in Bossier City against those offices? Any
Oh,
accountability measures put in place? I didn't
gosh.
see any.
And look, it's been crickets about auditing Manchac, which Tommy Chandler ran on. Hey, Tommy, what happened to that audit? I mean, I'm glad Tommy's had a couple of instances at the recent city council meetings where he's kind of stood his ground just a wee little bit, but we still haven't forgot that audit. Anyway.
Well, this new charter put language in there to shore up the public-private partnerships like you have with Manchac. It,
Oh, yeah.
it cleaned all that up in there. So if y'all are big Manchac and big, having the money flowing, then that charter's for you. But if you want a little bit more accountability and a little more oversight, you might not going to be for that charter. But you'd have to read it.
Yeah. All right. What's next? This is a perfect segue, and I need to remember to mute your mic this time, and you need to hide your eyes. That's Let's segue over to the city council meeting. What do you say?
Let's do that because I haven't even watched this yet. I got to see this.
All right. So first of all, I want to thank everybody because we posted that video last week of Colonel Crockett being escorted out, the little short video, and did it to the tune of Another One Bites the Dust. I can't believe that didn't get flagged for copyright somehow.
Sooner or later.
But I want to thank everybody for sharing that one out because it's, like I said, over 4,000 views right now. So that's great. But I'm trying to adjust my camera here, so bear with me for just a second. There we go. All right. But anyway, so I wanted to run down. This is last week's city council meeting. If you haven't seen it, you definitely want to tag a friend and all that and have them watch this because we're going to talk about these pay raises. We're going to listen to Tommy Chandler's speech about that, which I posted as a standalone video as well. And we're going to get right into Montgomery and all that. So I've got the video tag here. I'm just going to start at the top and work down my tags, and we'll just go from there. What do you say?
Roll with it.
All right. So first up, this is Tommy's comments about the way the pay raises were implemented in the budgetary process. So here we go.
Voted in. I was going to comment afterwards.
Well, go ahead. It don't matter.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to take the opportunity to thank the City Council for working with me and my administration to provide meaningful raises for all city employees. For the last 3.5 years, I've fought for raises for our most invaluable asset, and that is our people. Let me be clear. I fully support these raises. What I can't support is an amendment to my budget that changes the funding source for these raises. A few months ago in September, I proposed a budget that funded raises for a stable and predictable source of funding that we know we'll have every year. This council voted to change the funding source and remove the guaranteed revenue stream and choose to fund raises on projections of future tax collections alone. In my opinion, this is not responsible. And this is much more risky than my proposed budget. It could lead to problems in the future if the projections are wrong. Right now, the Louisiana legislature is in a special session considering major changes to the tax structure, changes that could reduce the amounts collected by Bossier City. And this time, there are too many unknowns. When I ran for mayor, I said I'd run the city like a business. I'm using one-time money rather than a stream of revenue that we know we'll have every year is not what a business would do. In business, raises would be based on a stable revenue stream, not paid from a savings account or put on a credit card.
Ooh.
It's past time that we invest in the people who serve our citizens daily. And I fully support and agree with these much-needed and overdue raises. But I felt it was important to let you know that I do not agree with the change in the way the raises will be funded. Thank you.
So, Miss Alice Boyer, brought up a good question. Could he veto? Well, yes, Miss Alice, he could. I'm going to put that question back up there. The question is, would he? Not could he. Would he?
Well, he could, but what would be the point? It would be a effort and, or exercise in futility because they,
Well, they're going
look,
to
you already
override
had,
him.
yeah, they're going to override him, but I mean,
But here, let me disagree with you only slightly. It's what I've said over and over and over and over about Tommy. He is only a very few times has he swatted the tennis ball back at Montgomery or any of that side of the council in his entire term in office, and that's a mistake. Tommy could, now it would be a political risk, but Tommy could veto the measure, but he needs to go out and make a news or do a press conference and clearly delineate why he is vetoing. That he's not vetoing the raises, he's vetoing the method that they're funding it with. That's the political risk. He's going to get overturned on the veto, but he would make a statement, and that is something that I think he seriously needs to consider. I forget what the timeline is on vetoing it, so it may be beyond and past that, but I don't think he's going to do that. He won't take those kind of risks at all.
no, he's not going to take that, and he's not going to take away the pay raises for the employees because that's exactly what would happen. They would turn it around and say, "Oh, you're voting against the pay raises," and look, I mean, look, as much as I take up for a lot of the city employees, it's just like some of these insurance people out there pain and suffering. You've got some city employees that they don't give a damn if he voted against a raise for them. They're not going to see the bigger picture. All they know and all they'll remember is that Tommy, vetoed their pay raises. That's what they would see.
Right.
And they would make that case.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's the way it would be. Chris and Hammonds, they don't like it, but they voted for it, and why are they voting for it? Because they don't have the votes. The King, Bubba, Darby, and Free, by gosh, they're going to have their way. They're going to run it through. And they made the decision to completely ignore what they paid. I think it was $750,000 for a study. It may not have been 750, maybe been 75,000. I don't remember the number.
70-something thousand.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they're just ignoring. They asked professionals to look at it, and they're just, like Wes said, they're just throwing it in the dumpster, trashing it.
That's a good segue because I think in Colonel Crockett's comments, so I'm going to go ahead and play those. I'm not going to play every set of comments, but I think in this first set of comments, he mentions that. So let's listen up.
Main Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. I absolutely support what the mayor's saying, but for a couple of other nuanced reasons. Number one, you have until December 20th to finish your budget. I believe that different guidance should be given to the mayor by the council that comes with more general guidelines, not a flat $500 increase. And I believe that what this council could do today, if you would change your agenda, you could vote unanimously to add an item to have discussion about what you think that would be fair pay raises and fair sources of revenue for this. You could just give general guidance and not give an amendment that drives the mayor to do something that the city could regret for the long run. I believe the goal should be to ensure that everybody in Bossier City is at the market minimum or higher. You can't tell based on what you did last week if you're going to bring everybody up to the market minimum. I don't think any thought was put into what was thrown out. It's like you were throwing mud on the table to see if it would stick. Hiring bonuses for jobs shortages in critical areas were never mentioned. That needs to be considered also because you've got 20 policemen short in Bossier City, and that's dangerous for this city because you already cut 10 positions that I've mentioned other times. I believe the best thing that this council could do today, and I'll mention some other problems with what I see that's happening that you've already given guidance for later on, But I believe this is haphazard. Amanda Nottingham, the mayor, and Ms. Williamson could go back and look at all of this and determine how much money is available. This should be a methodical approach rather than just saying everybody gets the same amount. You're giving pay raises in what you're doing to some people that are already being paid above the market range. You're giving the same pay raises to somebody who are making more than anybody in those 7 cities that were studied. Did the council look at all those details?
All right, I want to pause right there for a second because that's an interesting point that the colonel makes. And for those of you that aren't aware, they paid, like Duke mentioned, they paid $70-something thousand for this salary study. We've all heard about the salary study. We've been waiting on the salary study. We published finally the salary study on the Facebook page. But instead of following the salary study and the mayor and Amanda's guidelines, Queen Monty decided to come in there and grandstand and try to look good, and it was like the Oprah show. $500 for everybody. You get 500, you get 500, you get 500, you get everybody gets $500 a month raise, right? Well,
Pretty much.
you heard what the colonel just said. Now, I'm going to jump forward because at the 26-minute mark or somewhere thereabouts, Hammonds questions Amanda about the salary study, and what she makes one little quick comment in there that's very critical. So I want y'all to listen closely to this because it's going to back up what the colonel is saying here about some people might be overpaid now. So listen up.
With the additional money that we approved for you, did that bring everybody in the salary study up to
Listen carefully.
this salary study minimum?
Correct. There
So
are
we have
some-
nobody that will be below that, correct?
With these increases, everybody will be at the market minimum or above.
Okay.
Or above. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Or above. So the market minimum or above. And that's the problem with this. It was kind of a willy-nilly approach, but it's a done deal. And, you know, the police and the fire that needed the raises and the other government employees, arguably, are getting the raise. I mean, we're not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just the method that they did this that's a little troubling. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to jump back in time, so I'm jumping back a few minutes, and I'm going to skip some of the other deals, but I'm going to jump back to Bubadon's comments just a minute or so prior to that.
Jason Brad, the chief of fire department, come up here and told us what they would like to do. We did that. So that should be, the police and fire should be fine, I would think. But that's what they want.
But that's not the way that meeting went. The police chief and the fire chief did not come up there and make a request. Queen Monty issued his edict on how it was going to be done, and then they dragged them up there, and it was like they almost wanted them to get into an MMA match up there between the police and fire and who was going to get this and who was going to get that. Bubadon, we have video. You guys published the video. Anybody can go back and look. That's not the way that happened. Am I crazy?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was like they were going to get them up there and they were going to throw down right there in front of the desk for everybody to see.
Remember all the firemen when there were lots of police. You were there sitting there too in the audience. So anyway, all right. I'm going to kind of go off track a little bit. I'm going to back up just a little bit. Miss Alice came up and was on this deal with Liz Morrell, the AG, and what they were having to deal with down around Alexandria and this immigrant that had, I guess, some really contagious type of tuberculosis or something. So she was bringing that up in the meeting. And, well, they tried to have Jacobs kind of dress her down. So I want you to listen to Jacobs' response here.
Ms. Boyer, the way that the public has an item put on the agenda is you contact your city councilman Every resident of the city of Bossier has 3 city councilmen. You have the resident from your district, and you have 2 at-large city councilmen. If a member of the general public wishes, to place an item on the agenda for discussion, then you go through your city councilman. You live in Halton.
Y'all heard that. She lives in Halton. Alice, stay away from those city council meetings. Dadgummit. You're not a resident. You're an outsider. Now, listen to her response.
I am within the Metropolitan Planning Commission, Bossier City's district. Y'all have an effect on my district at some point in time in the future. I am within the Planning Commission, not a
the
party.
Planning Commission meeting. This is the Bossier City Council meeting.
I just want something, this affects
Mr.
everybody in the
Williams,
community.
Mr.
This
Williams.
affects the
Ms.
city.
Boyer, let's not
Why
go there
it-
again. Let's not go there again, okay?
Why do you think this United Nations issue does not, the refugee issue, there was an illness down in Alexandria.
All right.
Attorney General.
So the important part of that is, notice that they're all on this kick. It's like they got talking points handed out amongst the good old boys. They're all on this kick. It's all you outsiders that are just stirring up trouble, dadgummit Duke Lowry.
Well, how'd I get into this?
Because you're an outsider. you and your wife, let's get Kara stirred up. You and your wife, Kara, y'all outsiders. Y'all
Yeah, that's
Benton
right.
folks are just trying to stir up trouble in Bossier City. Leave it alone.
Well, I'm not even going to go there, but there was something. Okay, so I did have somebody. We were actually talking about this, and you may have saw this, and you may already have it marked. But somewhere in this meeting, Jacobs is pointing out the fact about putting something on the agenda, and that they live in Halton. But then he makes a comment to the effect of, and I'm looking through the agenda here real quick, about a business that is not even from our area.
The casino? The
Yeah.
casino exemption? Oh, well, I have that queued up there, Mr. Lowry. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Let's listen.
Yeah, play that.
Yeah, so the context here is the new live casino that, what was it? Used to be Diamond Jacks, I think, or whatever, that they're redoing or whatever. Okay, good thing, blah, 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 hoorah. Anyway, here we go.
I can.
Yeah.
This is, the live casino is in the process. They're well along in the process. They're due to open early next year through efforts with the city, the mayor, and meeting with him. It's a $270 million project that they're investing in Bossier City and Bossier Parish. They requested, because of the expenditure and the 700 employees they plan to hire, out of that $270 million in infrastructure, they requested a $20 million exemption to last for 10 years. Which is
There you go, Miss Boyer. 10 years, $20 million exemption. I bet if those out-of-towners asked to come up there and speak, they'd welcome them with open arms.
Well, I'm wondering if they come up and they have if they're worried about, illegals and whether or not, there's an outbreak of a disease or something, would they give them time to ask that question? I'm thinking that they could ask whatever they wanted to ask.
I mean, there's so many different angles to go with. And I would remind everybody, that whole little scenario there was being given by Charles Jacobs, the city attorney, who is not a resident of Bossier City, nor is Richard Ray.
I don't think Amanda lives in the city either.
Oh, the irony of all this. And
maybe
like we posted, a decent percentage of city employees, if we went and pulled all the records, don't live in the city either, and they hire out-of-city attorneys for most of their legal stuff, even though we're paying Jacobs $100,000 and $100,000+ and Richard Ray nearly $100,000. Come on, we're literally paying those out-of-towners.
But the long and short of it is, the city attorney is advocating against someone not from the city from having something, because you don't live in the city, having something talked about at the city council, then turns right around and starts advocating for somebody or entity not from the city for what they want to be talked about.
Yeah, maybe it's because his buddy over there, Queen Monty, might get the insurance business out of it. I don't know. I'm just speculating. That might not be true.
I don't know. But I think after we get through this council meeting, I think I got a little bit of interesting information to talk about. Some people may draw some conclusions from.
Ah. All right. I've got the comments tagged here about the diversion program, which has nothing to do with term limits or anything else. The main point of that is, which I didn't realize, but I guess they have made it illegal for 18-wheelers to be going down I-20, and I guess that's still in effect. So Richard Ray did mention that, they had written some tickets to
Look,
some truck
why
drivers.
don't they do it on Benton Road and Airline Drive within Bossier City? I mean, the sand haulers would love it, because if you force them to have to get on 220, you increase their mileage band, which means they make more money. So they're
Right.
not going to be mad about it.
Yeah.
Only way they're going to be mad is if you hook them up with the popo between 220 and South Bossier, then they're going to be mad.
There's so many angles to this meeting. All right, so here we go. These are Chris Smith's quick comments, and then we're going to jump into Queen Monty's diatribe. Here we go. Chris Smith, batter up.
I'd like to say to Ms. Nottingham and Ms. Williamson, Mayor Chandler, and Mr. Ray, thank you for obliging me with the meeting last week, because I had a lot of questions and concerns over this budget. I think one of the biggest takeaways that I walked away from is that moving forward into future years, that we have resources to get creative to find reoccurring revenue streams.
All right, I want to stop right there. Resources to find reoccurring revenue streams, and that goes back to, I think it was Val Baker or somebody made the comment in there. I can't scroll back fast enough. The problem with the budget, as I understand it, and I've just done a quick overview, so Jeff Sadow's in the comments. We posted his article on it and John Settle's article, so he could actually, Jeff Sadow could explain it better as well. But basically, instead of funding these raises with something that is a reoccurring revenue stream, something that you can count on every year. Right now, that's what Tommy meant and what Chris meant there. With Tommy's credit card statement, is that it's not tied to something that is reoccurring. It's tied to some money that could fluctuate drastically. Is that a good way to put it, Mr. Lowry and Mr. Sadow in the comments?
Yeah, I think that's accurate myself.
Okay. All right. So just wanted to play that. That's the only real reason I care to hear Chris's comments about it, because he's just, patting everybody on the back. I mean, I understand why you got to do it, Chris, but still. All right.
Ever let it.
Whoops.
Well, I don't know. Where are you going to move at on this? Was you wrapping up there?
Well, no, I'm fixing to jump down to Queen Monty's diatribe.
Yeah,
to the actual good part. The good part of all
this.
Yeah,
the good part.
All right. So here we go. This is the full context of the short video that we posted showing the jerk, Colonel Crockett, being escorted out by the marshals. So let's see. Alice, the score is Alice 1, Crockett 1, Duke 0, Rex 0 for getting escorted out of the building. We can't let this stand, Duke. We just can't.
Okay.
We're going to have T-shirts made for this too, by the way. All right, but anyway, so here is Queen Monty. Here we go.
So I'm sure everybody in the room and those out listening, I can't go without defending the council and their budget that they proposed. The mayor made some mighty strong statements, as I would say, as to
wait a minute. The council and their budget
principles, which
wait a minute. The council and their I thought the mayor presented a budget.
He did, but that pesky mayor, that doesn't matter when you're queen or king of the council.
And did I miss something? Who's really the mayor?
Yeah, who cares about the mayor's budget? Who cares about a salary study they literally wasted $70,000 on at this point because they did not pay attention to it? Just like the monument, blah blah blah. They just, hey, it's all our money. They can just waste it if they want. What does it matter?
Why am I having flashbacks of Road Warrior? Who runs Bartertown?
Yeah. So, thank you, Mr. Sadow. Jeff Sadow says that is correct. As Monty Hall notes, the bulk of tax collections in the city are from sales taxes, which are down over 7% this year. Not an auspicious sign for the future. So, that's the biggest problem with that. All right, and we're up to 110 or so people watching. Want to thank all of you. And one other thing while I'm doing a squirrel note, I want to say we've got a pretty good balance between YouTube, Facebook, and even X, formerly known as Twitter. We've got 16 people watching on X.
How about that?
That is kind of a record for a show. All right, so here we go. Let's let him finish.
Which I vehemently disagree with. It would have been easy not to say a word, but too many of y'all count on this city council and have counted on this city council, certainly for the 23 and a half years I've served, and there's several other gentlemen, and I've spoken to Mr. Smith about this as well. This budget was not based on a credit card. It was not based on one-time money. A great deal of thought and business sense went into this.
And I got to say, he's got to be correct because it took him many, many years to come up with this and finally had this brilliant idea. So yeah, he put at least 3 years of thought that we know about into coming up with releasing these funds.
I mean, look, it was brilliant. $500 across the board for everybody who works here. I mean, I'll bet he thought about that all of 5 minutes.
I'm surprised he didn't have bags of money sitting under the chairs of all the firemen and the policemen out there in the audience. Why not?
I mean,
look under your seats, boys. There's your raise right there.
I mean, it was $400 across the board at one time in the past. I mean, hey, it worked then. Why not? It'll work again.
All right, here we go.
Decision that it's not, this council is not here to rubber stamp. This council is not here to take something.
Wait a minute. I can't let that go unanswered. How many times have you seen any other councilman other than a few times with Hammonds and even fewer with Smith? Have you seen the council not go with Queen Monty? I think Free or Darby may have or maybe it was Bubba Don, accidentally voted the wrong way one time. But they absolutely rubber stamp anything that moron wants to do. For him to sit there and say that with a straight face is worthy of an Oscar.
He knows it. I mean, look, Jeff is Free. I mean, yours is gold plated. I mean, Bubba knows his is gold plated. Darby, I don't know what his is, but at a minimum gold plated. They all got gold plated rubber stampers. They know that.
Yeah.
But the question is, has Vince been issued his yet? I mean, I would think he's proved his salt to David by now.
Well, his might not be gold plated, but I bet it's at least bronze plated for now.
Yeah, he's probably at platinum right now, or copper. He may be copper plated. Yeah, his is copper plated right now.
Yeah, he's getting there. All right, here we go.
And that we might think might be better for the police, for the fire, for the municipal employees. And it is our prerogative. That is given to us by authority in our city charter that was voted on by the people in the 70s.
Did y'all hear that?
The people.
It's their prerogative, voted on by the people of Bossier City, Duke Lowry. Back in the 70s.
Those same people that included the word shall. I mean,
so, they selectively want to follow their own law.
Anyway,
just when it's convenient.
Keep going. I can't take much more of this.
All right, here we go.
The people of Bossier City, by the way, not those that don't live in the city.
Oh, yeah,
Hold
you
on.
you
We got
value them so much.
we got to play that again. Here we go.
The municipal employees, and it is our prerogative. That is given to us by authority in our city charter that was voted on by the
Wait
people
for
in the
it.
70s.
Wait for it.
The people of Bossier City, by the way, not those that don't live in the city.
You out of towners. You immigrants.
All these carpetbaggers coming into town.
Y'all are like illegal immigrants in the eyes of Queen Monty.
I mean, I'm wondering what he thinks about Barksdale Air Force Base and all the folks out there.
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
I'm just curious if he thinks about out of, born here, lived here all my life, and has a business in Bossier City, as long as I have, retired from the fire department. If he thinks I'm a carpetbagger, I'm wondering what he thinks of all the people at Barksdale Air Force Base. Oh, I mean, I'm sure they didn't let him write the insurance out there, but maybe that's why maybe that's why he has a problem. I don't know.
We need to have some t-shirts made that say carpet bagging jerks and sell them outside the next city council meeting. We just need to get a permit, do it upright, do it legally, and sell carpet bagging jerk t-shirts outside the city council meeting.
Non-residents not welcome here.
Oh, there you go. See, we're all these ideas. We need somebody that makes t-shirts to put this together. We'll sell them. We'll push them. We'll give you a percentage. Somebody hit us up.
Take your business somewhere else unless you live in Bossier City.
Yes, exactly. Hey, hear that, all you casino people? If you don't live in Bossier City, don't hit us up for $20 million in tax exemptions for 10 years.
Oh, wait a minute.
Ooh.
What if you are a non-resident and you want to come to Bartertown? What if you're a business and you're wanting to come and play in Bartertown? Maybe the story after we get through this video will enlighten that a little bit.
Maybe so, maybe so. And the problem with carpetbaggers isn't so much that the carpetbaggers were here in the South, is that they wouldn't leave. All right, here we go. Let's continue on.
I want to make sure of that. So, yeah, you can laugh. No, sir. You do not have the floor. You do not have.
You can laugh.
I just gotta say, the way Crockett just swaggers up there to the podium was spot on. You might be a jerk, Colonel Crockett, but you're our favorite jerk.
He was smooth.
He may as well have been moonwalking.
The floor.
Mr. Crockett,
you do not have the floor.
You can have me thrown out, Mr. Are you the president?
Mr. Crockett.
Listen,
Williams, I have the floor.
Mr. President, are you going to control your councilman who's disparaging the public?
He has the right.
I spend every nickel in the city. Do you
Mr.
want
Crockett.
me to go somewhere else? Do you want me to go somewhere
Sit
else
down.
to spend my money? Have me hold out.
Okay, where's the marshal at?
Asking you shall receive.
Your councilman was not on the agenda to speak and do that
He
to
has
me.
the right to speak at the end of the
He
meeting.
did not have the right to
He
do
has the
that
right.
to me.
I'm not doing it to anybody. I'm speaking to
He's
those
speaking to
in
the whole
audience.
public. Just
Now that weasel, he just has no nuts. In our barroom scenario, he's the guy that comes in there and does the sucker punch while you're not looking. Did you just hear what he said?
He was literally turned to the audience, was looking out there to where Colonel Crockett obviously was sitting, and he was directing it at him.
Yeah. And, I was just talking about the general public, not just Colonel Crockett. So screw all of you people. All of y'all that don't live in the city, according to Queen Monty himself. He has issued that edict.
Even if you wasn't there, he said, if you don't live in the city, screw you.
Yeah, that's big F you. All right, here we go.
Just ask him to go politely. If you don't, well then.
And you should have been not so rude to her.
Who?
Way to take up for Miss Alice. Listen up.
Mr.
Listen.
Montgomery,
Hold on. Right here.
Jerk, man.
And there's Free to remind him, hey, the mics are hot. So there you go.
That jerk. The jerk.
So now they can't say we published that video just to slam Bubba Don and Queen Monty without full context, because you've had the full context. Now, I'm going to let Montgomery finish his comments. What do you say, Duke?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So let me finish that. We were granted the authority through the vote of the people. And every 4 years, this council is elected, just as the mayor's elected. We have every right to amend the budget from the floor. It is well within our rights. Obviously, a majority, in this case, every councilman voted in favor of that budget, which went through the process, by the way, in an open meeting, discussed in front of the public, vetted,
with comments,
debated, comments from all of those in the audience that decided something was better. That's what this is all about. It's like the sausage making. Sometimes it's not pretty, but at the end of the day, look what we got. We got money for the fire and the police that they deserved. Contrary to what was said, they got their pot of money and they can do with it and apply it to those people that they feel as though are going to be most competitive in the marketplace. The fundamentals of recurring revenue, which has been a hot topic, our recurring revenue, for the record, is property tax, which is roughly 20%, sales tax is roughly 80%. Again, I will repeat this, for the past 3 years, we have consistently outperformed our estimates. Why in the world would we not go ahead and count that revenue now? We have increased the fund balance by over, I don't know, 30 million, something like that, 25 to 30 million dollars.
Do y'all understand what he's basically saying here? He's got this war chest. He's got this pot of gold sitting there. And now that it's almost election time, now that, remember, and we showed this, Duke, a few episodes back, he's been slammed by the policemen themselves. Montgomery himself called out in those letters and those surveys. Now he's going to release some of his pot of gold that he's been sitting on. He's like a dragon hoarding the gold.
Yeah, a dragon is not exactly what I was thinking of, but carry on.
All right, here we go.
My goodness, how much money do we have to sit on before we give it back to the people?
What did I just say? Did y'all hear that? My goodness, how much money do we have to sit on before we give it back to the people? Ooh, thank you, Queen Monty. Thank you.
Well, can I count on my water bill and all that to be cut in half? What about taxes? He's
Trash service.
Giving stuff back. I mean, the people. When we're gonna see some cuts and all that?
Hey, here's an idea. Maybe instead of paying $20 million a year in interest payments, they should have been using some of that cash. They're literally giving, what is it, 20 some odd, correct me in the comments, Jeff, 20 some odd million a year in interest payments alone. That means the city is giving that much money to the bankers. Tell me how that's justified.
Well,
all right.
Keep going. I'm ready to get through this.
It's almost time for the barf bag. We're almost done.
You are torturing
those people that are providing the services to the people of Bossier City. It was time. The amount was right. The money is there. And for those that say, no, the money's not there, or what are we going to do if it's not there, we have well over $4 million of a recurring, again, let's make it for the record, recurring revenue stream in our capital budget that we can transfer at any time in 2025 to supplement even a 0% increase and sales tax and property tax. I think I would say that's pretty fundamentally sound and fiscal responsibility from a financial standpoint.
Can he not talk any louder?
He's got to get his point off for the record, by the way.
I mean, look, they're hearing him down in Golden Meadows. I mean, good grief.
Well, now, in full disclosure, I did have to boost the audio because the city's audio feed does suck in their videos. I mean, it's not as bad as some governments, but I always have to boost the audio. So, in his defense, but he is shouting. I mean, I talk loud, but he is shouting because, well, he's defending himself or trying to.
Well, I mean, I'm glad he finally came to the conclusions that he did to give everybody in Bossier this money with all this reoccurring money that they've had. You know, it just begs the question. So for all of you sycophants out there that, are defending him, why is it just now that you're getting the money? If this money's been so sound and the management's been so sound, why have we allowed our police and fire to, well, maybe not the fire as much, but why have we allowed all of these positions to fall behind on pay if we've got so much money floating around? Is it because of the sound management practices that he's talking about, the staying on top of things? Or is it just that, we'll only do something or manage the city's issues until we have no choice anymore, and then we have to, or until there's an election coming up and we're gonna need y'all to jump up there and save our butts.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So this is a good comment. Rename the waste treatment facility to honor the Queen.
Oh, that's good. Montgomery Lane.
That is very good. That is very good. Okay, let's let him wrap it up. It's only a few more seconds of him.
So with that said, that this budget, number one, is fundamentally and fiscally sound from a recurring revenue standpoint. If in fact, in 2025, things don't go as we have another $4.5 million sitting there, which we're going to use as capital, which has been brought up throughout these meetings that we're not doing enough. So why not leave that money in capital so that we can do the necessary capital requirements throughout the year? And again, I'm repeating myself, but for emphasis, the money is there, and this council has the power to transfer those funds back to the operating fund for fiscal responsibility. So let me assure each of y'all, and those out that are listening to this, and those that may watch at a later date, this budget is fundamentally sound with recurring revenue currently and, quite frankly, going forward. Thank you.
He should have just dropped the mic. Yay!
Well, he's made his peace. He said, currently and going forward. So if it breaks after this, it's not his fault.
Not his fault.
It's not his fault.
He laid out the plan. There it is. So y'all heard it.
It'll be everybody but his fault.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to the question, and we've asked it many times on this show. Why haven't you done this before? Why did you literally hold the city employees and the first responders hostage? Why? He didn't address that.
No, he's not going to address that. But you know what? So as we turn the page on this right here in that rant, a lot of you at this point, we're fixing to share some information that we've learned a little bit about, and I'm gonna have to. There's a story behind this, and it relates to Bossier City. I can confirm that, Rex. And Rex didn't know about this story, so I'm going to give him plausible deniability on this. But I'm going to have to tell it like a story because I don't think there's going to be any way that we can validate this. We had a little bit of a discussion about sending public information requests for elected officials, communications and emails and itineraries, and going down the road of trying to get all of these things. But the God's honest truth to all of y'all, we won't get it.
Right.
Just, the city attorney's office isn't going to give it to us. Patrick Jackson at the police jury's office, they're not going to give us. They'll just cut it out. So we're not even going to go there, but we're going to tell you the story, and you can draw your own conclusions of what was shared with us. So Rex and y'all watching, have y'all heard the story about Meta and the data center that's going in over in Richland Parish, and over by Monroe?
Well, I've heard or read a little bit about it, and so everybody knows Meta is the parent company now of Facebook, or has been for several years, and they revamped and all that. So, Shreveport's got Amazon. There's been some scuttlebutt about Amazon expanding their operations over there, maybe, or whatever. But this Meta data center, I'd heard about it, but I didn't know the backstory about it.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more to this story than meets the eye, and it follows, allegedly the story follows a pattern, and here's how the story broke down. So sometime around July, August, in only as was described as being, you could count on one hand the number of elected officials that had knowledge of this, that there was consideration of a project in Bossier. And that project was said to be a chip manufacturing facility for, uh, like Teslas and things like that. Well, that was a cover story. The cover story, the reason that was put out there, because they didn't want anybody to know about Meta. And it was real tight. And again, it was, you could count on one hand the number of elected officials in Bossier that knew that they were looking to come to Bossier.
Really?
Yeah, really. So all of a sudden, you get an announcement that this Meta thing is going to, over there by Monroe, out in a rural area of Richland Parish, not much development over there. And you got to understand a little bit about what they're doing. I mean, you understand computers, but this data center, it uses a ton of electricity, as I understand.
Right.
And so much so that the proposed place over there, the Entergy, is going to have to build a power plant over there just to support the damn thing. And interestingly, it's going to be, or in, I think it was in this one, it may have been that other link, the Louisiana Radio Network one. It's going to need a lot of resources pertaining to, or that utilizes natural gas.
Right.
Something to that effect. Moon Grafone was talking about this today.
Yeah, so any data center is power hungry, and that comes from not just running the servers, but keeping them cool, by the way. And obviously, they need good connectivity and, fiber optic infrastructure and all that sort of thing. So it's not just the servers themselves, it's actually keeping them at a cool enough operating temperature because, well, they build heat.
Yeah, so what I would say is because I haven't seen it anywhere, and I think we're probably going to be the only ones that are reporting this and putting this story out here. And of course, we're not just making this up; it's a source. But this thing was supposed to be coming to Bossier, but now all of a sudden the announcements are that it's going over, to Monroe.
Well, look, I'm not knocking anybody that, is out there at the Cyber Innovation Center area and all that sort of thing. But that would seem, with that particular infrastructure there, it would seem a natural fit for Meta or any technology company that needs data centers to be able to locate around here. I mean, They're going to give the casinos 20 million bucks.
I mean, what with Cyber Innovation Park and, I mean, all that out there. I mean, it's kind of like, even from, not Dement, but Walker, wasn't we like aiming for all this kind of stuff? Hadn't we been working towards this? But the $1 million question, Rex, is how is it that we're allegedly on the front, the lead edge of getting this thing, and then all of a sudden now they're going to Monroe? How
Yeah.
does that happen?
Yeah, what the hell? Listen to this quote right here. They will be using as much electricity as the entire city of Monroe. Energy will be building a power plant there to supply them. That's how big an electricity user they are. The planned data center will occupy the state-owned 1,440-acre Franklin Farms mega site.
Well, so I'm going to go on out there and I'm going to bust off with the part of this that is of relevance to me.
Right.
And
What does
what
this have to do with Bossier, except obviously, apparently, we missed out? Why?
Well, allegedly we missed out because Meta wouldn't agree to the shakedown.
What? Wait a minute. The shakedown?
Apparently, there were some elected officials that had requests that were not requests that were acceptable to Meta and that they weren't going to do. And so they just said, to hell with it. We're just not going to go to Bossier. And they found another location.
This kind of has markers similar to the whole UL Coleman debacle, kind of, sort of. But what do we mean by? I mean, do we have any details at all that we can share?
That's why I preface this in the beginning to say that, look, I will tell you that I did a little bit of poking around. I do know like I said, you could count on one hand, in August, the number of elected officials that had any knowledge about any of this. But, and some of those elected officials were police jury in the city of Bossier. That was where they were. I've confirmed those two entities, but I haven't confirmed it anywhere else. So, the only question is what were the parameters that were put out by these elected officials, or what were the deals made, or, the way it was passed on to us is that it was a shakedown. I don't know if it was or if it was not. That was what was conveyed to us. And it may not even be true that they were going to come here. But why would you go to Monroe? You don't have a power plant. You're going to have to build a power plant. We've even got a solar plant over here in Caddo. I think we've got quite a bit of natural gas pretty close, and a lot of it that could be used. We've got the Cyber Innovation Center. I mean, why would it seems reasonable that this would be where and oh, by the way, isn't this the Speaker of the House's district?
Yeah. So look, here's
one more caveat to that, and the reason I say that, Rex, is because it was also said that this may have came here because of the Speaker of the House.
Well, all right, and for those of you that
was going to,
those of you that are thinking, well, Facebook's evil and Zuckerberg's evil, so whatever, who really needs it? I just want to remind you, half of the audience is watching on Facebook right now, so let's not be hypocrites about it. Number two, whether I like Zuckerberg's politics or social philosophy or not, this is a huge economic deal that is not going here in Bossier City. It's going across the state.
Correctamundo. So, we could go down and run the traps of sending public information requests for emails. I mean, how How does trying to get phone records of one councilman in Bossier City, how did that ever go? I mean, and
Right.
your assistant city attorney says, they're not easily attainable,
Right.
and fought it in court. So there's no way that we could get all of that. We just go ahead and acknowledge it. And even if we did, they would censor and hide some of it. We wouldn't get everything to be able to prove anything. But what we can do is we can put this story out there, and if there's anybody with direct knowledge in this that wants to anonymously share more information than what has been conveyed to us, to be able to run this story down and confirm or deny it,
There's
lead us down
always
the road.
proton mail. So, well, that's something you're not going to hear on any other news source, citizen journalism, or traditional news.
No, they probably wouldn't put it out there.
Right.
They probably wouldn't.
And look, even if, and again, you disclaimed it, even if what we were told is not true, it still begs the question: why didn't Bossier get this? Why didn't Bossier get the Amazon deal? Why?
Well, we sure got a water line to the port to supply it, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. We sure
Yeah.
got a sawmill that was bankrupt before it was not bankrupt, and then turned out it actually was.
Yeah. Very interesting. We
I don't
we
know.
we've said a lot in 230 plus episodes, Mr. Lowry. And I
We
have
put a
look, for my part, I have enjoyed every minute of it.
I have as well. I mean, I know we made a lot of people uncomfortable. I enjoyed being at an event not too long ago. I think you were at that event too. And I actually, when our names were mentioned, I saw somebody that I know doesn't like us rolled their eyes and
Cringe, yeah.
scowl. And I actually enjoyed that. It,
Yeah.
it made me feel good.
Thanks. Look, slow and steady wins a race. We've been doing this for 4 years now. We're well north of 250 shows, 260 or more probably when you combine Louisiana Watch and Bossier Watch and all that. And look, I just want to spend a minute because, Thanksgiving's coming up this week. And so, of course, our next show won't be till after Thanksgiving. And I don't want to do the cheesy, traditional, thankful stuff, thankful for family, which I am and all that. Here's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that you and I have been able to sit here for 230 plus shows. I guarantee you we have sat in these chairs over 1,000 hours. Think about that. Over 1,000 hours putting these shows together. And we have over 7,000 followers on Facebook now. Whether you agree or disagree with us, we have not had to ban anybody from the show. A couple of trolls and bots. We let people have their say in the comments as long as you're relatively civil. And we've been able to have fun while we're doing this, and we're sitting here averaging 100 folks now. That first show, we were amazed that we had a dozen people watching, 2 of which were our own wives.
And we were tickled pink.
Yeah. So I am thankful for everybody that is watching. I am thankful for having you as a friend through all these shows, even when we don't agree, and we've been able to sit here and banter back and forth.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your commentary. And like you said, we don't always agree. We don't. People probably think we don't disagree that much, but we do.
A little bit.
But we try to have dialogue that's interesting, and the main point is, it's just like I told my son, just life lesson, and this still applies. We can be adults, and there's lessons that you tell your kids. You get out of life what you put into it, and I just wish and I hope from what we do that's encouraging citizens to get involved, whether it be in their parish, the city, because that's what it's all about. We've been trying to show people that you can make a difference, and I think that we've been successful. I think we've moved the needle in Bossier. We've certainly increased the dialogue and people talking about what's going on in their community, and They can't never take that away.
That is right. And by the way, you can go back and watch all the way from show 1 if you want to. Everything we have said is out there publicly and has not been taken down. So, we say it, we own it.
Well, hey, what good would a Bossier watch be without a meme? Share my screen.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Give me just a second. Let me do a share Duke screen button. Oh, did you have to share her?
Well, you gotta listen to the words. You can't just look at what.
Okay. Darn it. All right, here we go.
All right.
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you.
I was just thinking, we agree with her.
We agree. Look, that is one thing that I agree with her on. And look, I'll just say this, and we know we have Democrats and liberals that watch, and some of you may be in the comments or whatever. Hey, the Republican Party has changed. And so I am thankful for that too. They have finally, I guess they must have been watching Bossier Watch and heard me rant and rave, but they have finally changed for the better, and thank goodness that she wasn't elected. And Trump and his entourage are going to be taking over in January.
Well, there ain't enough of them changed. I'll leave it right there. There ain't enough of them changed. I don't think it ever ends. I don't think it ever ends.
All right, Mr. Lowry, it has been another good show. We have had a lot of people watching, a lot of people commenting. Again, can't say it enough. We thank everybody for sharing, for commenting, for watching the videos, for listening to us rant and rave. It's been fun, and we're going to keep doing it. We have no plans on stopping.
Yeah, and I will tell you, there are some other things cooking. I mean, there's been a little bit of some First Church stuff going on. I think we're going to probably have a little bit of dialogue about that in an upcoming show. There's a couple of other, there's a family out in Halton's had a pretty rough ride with a deal pertaining to a builder and a housing deal, and with the 26 JDC. Probably get into talking about that a little bit. And but anyway, yeah, look forward to shows coming up and staying on the politics. And
yeah, hey, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy your family, enjoy your time, enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner. Duke, to you and Kara and all y'all's family, happy Thanksgiving to y'all.
Good night. Thank y'all.
Good night.